Welcome, one and all, to the updated look into an unbreakable perspective of bowling. It's been the ongoing mission of North American bowling and SpareTalk to bring the sport of bowling back to the prominence it once held when the game was first brought to the shores of the American continents. The podcast that is featured here focuses on this day in bowling history. Here, we feature news snippets from years and decades past, with the understanding that news isn't old if you've never heard it before. It's with this first step that we all must realize that in order for the game to grow, just as it did throughout history, the games must not be separated by the nonsensical ideology that any one game is superior to another. Once we come to the realization that all games are brothers under the one umbrella of bowling, that's when the game will be strengthened through unity. Accept all games and embrace them with respect. It's with this perspective that we bring you this podcast. So, join our initial trio of AI reporters, Ike Muncie, Marcy McCall, and Frank Alkay, as they bring you the news of what happened on this day in the history of bowling. And now, on with the show.
From the Richmond Times-Dispatch in the year 1935. Tronsky, top duck pen ace, showed courage in pinch. Finished great run here, with fingers bleeding. National Duck Pin Congress President Nick Tronsky, one of the most colorful bowlers in the United States today, is going after his third #1 ranking. Will he be able to keep up with the dizzy pace set by Meyer Jacobson of Baltimore and Astor Clark of Washington, or many other stars who are playing in the Southern Intercity League? This seems to be the main alley topic as the duck pin game nears the halfway mark on Eastern drives. Tronsky, who received the #1 ranking at the end of the 1930 to 1931 season, took top honorary ranking from 1931 to 1934, and then came back to top the field with his second top ranking the past season, in shooting a sensational average of 131 for 183 games in the North Connecticut League. The eyes of the bowling world will be on this star as he competes in the first national event, the Washington Times-Dixie Sweepstakes. Just a year ago, rumors were circulated that Tronsky was through, that he was about to lose the use of his right arm, that due to the powerful pressure he put on the balls, it was affecting the nerves in his fingers. But the Connecticut Ace came back stronger than ever. Richmond bowlers will long remember Tronsky and his rolling in the United States Sweepstakes at the Health Center drives. 14 games had been rolled. A new world record for 15 games was in sight. Could he continue on? For 14 games he had spilled, jammed, crowded, and otherwise mauled the Maples for huge counts of 173, 186, 151, and 162. Did he have the stuff to continue on? That is what the 800 or more who jammed every available space were thinking about. And did Nick go on? He just kept on mauling the Maples in that last game to hang up a world's record of 2,101 for 15 games. Tronsky wiped his right hand on the seat of his trousers and then extended a hand. 4 fingernails were dripping with blood. The wear and tear of his bowling began to tell on him in that final game. But Nick had it in the pinch. He finished with a game of 173. In breaking this world mark, which has not been topped, Tronsky made a total of 78 marks, 58 spares, and 20 strikes. Is there any doubt that he is the biggest drawing card in the game today?
From the News Tribune from the year 1993, LPDT gets boost from sponsorship. The Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour recently received a big boost from a 3-year sponsorship agreement with Sam's Town Hall and Bowling Center of Las Vegas. Sam's Town Hall has held the Sam's Town Invitational since 1984. It will become the umbrella sponsor for the entire LPBT National Tour beginning in 1994. The 21 LPBT national tournaments will have a minimum prize fund of $50,000 in 1994. The minimum will increase to $60,000 in 1995 and $70,000 for 1996. The current minimum is $35,000. The tournament schedule for 1994 has not been finalized. LPBT President John Falzone said he hopes that Sam's Town sponsorship and television contracts with ESPN and Prime Sports will solidify the LPBT's financial picture.
On the Miami Herald in the year 1985, Bauer achieved first PBA title. Darrell Bauer of Middletown, Pennsylvania, upset Mike Albee of Indianapolis, who was the top seed and defending champion, 213 to 206, Saturday, to win a $135,000 Professional Bowlers Association tournament in Indianapolis. The victory, Bauer's first on the PBA Tour, was worth $21,000. Albee's $11,000 second prize enabled him to take over the year's money lead with $172,800. Earlier, Bauer defeated Jim Tilton of Huntington Beach, California, 205 to 200. Then downing Pete Weber of St. Louis, 235 to 200. And then Johnny Petraglia of Staten Island, New York, 214 to 201. Weber, who finished fourth, received $6,000, raising his year's winnings to $167,856. He and Albee surpassed the one-year money mark of $164,735, set by Earl Anthony in 1981.
From the year 1985 in the Miami Herald, Romeo stands up for right-handers, but Costello wins in LPBT finals. For 5 days, the right-handed contingent moaned and groaned during the $100,000 Tournament of Champions at Sam's Town bowling lanes. The righties were upset over lane conditions that they claimed favored left-handers. Their words of frustration could be heard throughout the 56-lane center, upstairs among the thousands of slot machines and in the hallways of the 205-room hotel. The righties pointed to the fact that only 4 lefties failed to cash, that 9 made the cut to the match game round, and that 5 advanced to Saturday's taped TV finals. The only right-hander to make the TV show was Robin Romeo, and for 4 games Saturday, it appeared that she might salvage the right-hander's wounded pride. Romeo opened with a 216 to 208 triumph over Dana Miller, knocked off D.J. Davidson 209 to 190, and eliminated Miami's Paula Carter 229 to 195. The 3 victories advanced Californian Romeo to the semifinal match against Coco's Alida Sill, who is the current bowler of the year and reigning Sam's Town champion. The right-handers in the audience cheered as Romeo defeated Sill 220 to 205. Next up was Patty Costello, not to be confused with the right-handed Pat Costello. Romeo opened with 3 strikes, but Costello rallied for a 236 to 211 victory and claimed the $25,000 first place check, which is $18,000 bigger than anything I ever won before. It was a well-deserved victory for Costello, who had come all the way back from the brink of personal disaster. I went through hell for about 7 years after my father died, she recalled. He was my best friend. Every record in the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour book was broken by lefties, and Costello claimed 7 of them. Not bad bowling for an old lady, said the 38-year-old from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who now has a record 24 pro titles, including 3 this year. But I am glad this one is over. I was so nervous out there, I thought I would have a heart attack. Her 3 titles match Sill's 1985 collection, and will make the choice for Bowler of the Year difficult. It is all in the hands of the bowling writers now, said Sill. I know it is going to be close. It also may be close whether the LPBT thrives or just barely manages to survive in 1986. With tournaments down from 24 to 14, and prize money down almost $200,000 this year, the LPBT did not need any controversies like the ones that popped up this week at Sam's Town. Skip Hintz, owner of a bowling center in Merritt Island, Florida, said he would not renew his contract for a tournament in February if the LPBT did not agree in its contracts to hire a lane man who would control the oil patterns. If Hintz does not renew, there is a good chance that the Fort Pierce stop also would be eliminated. Then there are the problems with the LPBT members themselves. Many are upset with the domination by lefties over the years, starting with Millie Martorella in the early 1970s, and carrying right through Dottie Fothergill, Mary Baker, Patty Costello, and Syl this season, and all are upset with the anemic prize money at most stops. Top names like Donna Adamek, Virginia Norton, Shirley Hintz, and Cheryl Daniels may skip most of the stops next year. However, they will not skip Sam's Town. Even with the lefty-righty controversy, this one is too big to bypass.
From the Lexington Herald Leader from the year 1985. ABC has not kept its rules in step with technology. This is an analysis piece by Dan Thorne. A psychologist once told me something very interesting about change. Most people do not like it. She said, they complain and are uncomfortable with a new process. They have become used to something, and their response to change reflects fear of the unknown. But they get used to it. Usually that takes about 2 weeks. And in many cases, if a change were made back to the original, they would react the same way they did to the first change. Well, there have been some important changes in the bowling industry that have raised the anxiety level of all concerned. One of the biggest problems in bowling is a lack of common philosophy among the industry's partners. The bowlers, the proprietors, and the American Bowling Congress all have different goals, so they do not get along very well. Discord has occurred because of a difference in opinion of lane conditions. There was a time when every lane in the land was oiled evenly and heavily from gutter to gutter. That placed a premium on accuracy. Then along came the blend. That was ABC's concession to the proprietors, who thought higher scores would inject some life into a sagging game in the 1970s. Simply stated, the blend is where the oil pattern is put down. So there is more in the middle and increasingly less toward the gutters. What happens is that the ball grips the lane better where there is less oil and thus hooks harder. So if you throw the ball a little too far outside, it will hook a little more and come back to the pocket. If you tug it, well, just sail merrily through the heavier oil and not hook past the pocket. Adroitly applied, the blend can be a path to the pocket. What the blend did was open the door to astronomical numbers of honor scores. 298, 299, 300, and 800 plus series. That pleased the bowlers, who got awards of rings and watches, and also the proprietors, who heard the cash register ring more often. But it irked the ABC, which claimed diminishing integrity of the sport. Well, that could have been solved had not another change taken place. The manufacturers of bowling balls and lane coatings further confused matters by using urethane. Coating the lanes with urethane became a way to lower insurance costs, which had soared with a highly flammable lacquer. But the urethane bowling ball was a technological advance. That allowed bowlers to score even higher on the blend. Nothing, short of a total oil embargo, can stop this ball. The porosity of the surface allows it to grip the lane better and thus hook harder. The only way to control urethane balls is to use less oil, so it hooks too much. Essentially, that is what is happening in many centers today as proprietors try to appease the ABC. Consequently, many players are returning to polyester balls, which do not hook as much. On short oil conditions, many players have discovered that It is beneficial to start league play with a polyester ball, like the yellow dot. After the oil is carried down, they switch to the urethane balls and use that oil for hold by moving very deep on the approach. It is almost like a block. Nobody had any idea that the urethane ball would upset the industry like it has. The equipment manufacturer's only concern is selling as many balls as possible. And the way they do that is to make a product that will allow players to knock down more pins. They did that with urethane. The players loved it, and so did the proprietors. The only segment of the industry that had problems with the urethane ball was the sanctioning body, the American Bowling Congress. Like the Professional Bowlers Association, the ABC was happy to sanction use of urethane balls when they came out. Now the ABC has to determine how to make urethane balls score the same as balls constructed of rubber and polyester. Urethane balls have driven the PBA to distraction trying to make a fair but playable condition. Why the urethane ball surprised the bowling industry is that there are no rules governing bowling balls except weight, size, and hardness. There are no guidelines for porosity and coefficient of friction. The ABC is working on such things, but no data has been released. There is another important reason for the success of the urethane ball. Bowling knowledge has expanded in the past 2 decades. Through junior programs, better coaching, and publications. Bowlers simply know more about the use of equipment. Through these bowling advances, the ABC has not kept pace with its rules. Other than to say averages are too high and too many honor scores are being recorded.
From the Cincinnati Enquirer from the year 1985. Thanksgiving tourney at Hoinky, filling fast. It appears that this year's Hoinky Super Classic on Thanksgiving weekend at Western Bowl will be a sellout. More than 700 bowlers have entered already. The maximum field is 768. We anticipate filling up soon, said Irv Hoinky, president of Western Bowl. We have been getting about 20 entries per day. In recent days, by the weekend, we had 703 entries. Bowlers will be shooting for a first prize of $50,000 in the single elimination match game tournament. The tournament opens on Friday, November 29th and concludes on Sunday, December 1st. Among those who have entered is Larry Barwick of Washula, Florida, who won the last 2 years.
From the Chicago Tribune from the year 1977, women's bowling factions moving toward merger. There will be a marriage of convenience between 2 warring factions. In professional women's bowling next week in San Antonio, the Ladies Professional Bowlers Association and the Professional Women's Bowling Association will merge. The alignment, which will govern all women bowling pros, will be known as the Women's Professional Bowlers Association, with headquarters in Chicago. That is, according to Roger Blamire, the executive director of the present PWBA. There were many reasons for the merger, and we feel that Janet Buehler, the founder of the LPBA and bowling proprietor in Canton, Ohio, will take an executive position with the new group. Buehler would serve as an influential member of the board of directors and will also be special events chairman for all events of more than $25,000. The new group will hold its national tournament starting Saturday with a pro-amateur event in San Antonio. 3 years ago, Buehler founded the LPBA when she claimed the PWBA reneged on a promise to make her the executive director when Bucky Roy left the organization. The LPBA and PWBA ran separate tournaments. Indirectly, it was Roy who brought the 2 sides together. Blamire had threatened to bar LPBA members from his tournament, and Buehler filed a restraint of trade suit against Blamire. With the 2 groups embroiled in a legal hassle, and Roy threatening to attach purses of the PWBA, claiming it owed him money from his stormy stint as commissioner, a settlement was sought. With Roy making noises again, Blamire said, we felt it was time to make peace with Janet and her group and present a united front. We both made concessions, and now that Roy cannot do anything with the new group, We feel we can move ahead. Roger said the PWBA had 14 tournaments firmed up for 1978, with several more in the works. He also said a major sponsor would co-sponsor a Chicago event that would have a $40,000 prize list.
From the year 1985 in the Miami Herald, Rodriguez wins in Seoul? Alfonso Rodriguez of Mexico struck out in the 10th frame to defeat Eric Koch of the Netherlands, 206 to 193, and win the men's title of the 21st Bowling World Cup in Seoul, South Korea. Rodriguez, 35, earned the top seed in the men's finals early Saturday, when he led the semifinals with an 8-game total of 19-12. Koch, a 26-year-old clerk, qualified second.
From the day in the year 2010, George Allen, Duck Pins for Dollars host on Rhode Island television, passes. Providence, Rhode Island broadcasting personality George Allen has died at age 71. Allen's wife, Karen, says he died Monday at his Barrington home due to an infection he developed after having a stroke last year. Allen spent 3 decades on radio and TV. He began as an on-air personality in 1962 at WLKW Radio, and over the years worked at WPRI-TV, WLN-TV, and its predecessor, WTEV. He also worked as a host at WSAR Radio in Fall River, Massachusetts. He is best known for the WLNE show, Dialing for Dollars, which he hosted for a little over a decade starting in 1979. He hosted a different Dialing for Dollars program on WPRI in the 1960s and Duck Pins for Dollars on WLNE in the 1970s. Allen's wife says everywhere he went, people recognized him and talked about the show.
Good day, one and all. Colleen Mooney here, bringing you the latest news from the world of bowling. First up, we have news from the sport of duck pins. The Popwitten Pro Tour had its monthly stop this weekend at Pinland Lanes in Dundalk, Maryland. A new champion was crowned Sunday in a battle of Glen Burnie, Maryland bowlers. Winnie Shriver picked up his first PWPT star with an impressive tournament performance, climaxing in a 169-117 victory over Billy Collison to close out the event. Of the 24 scratch qualifiers from the total 42 semifinalists, Shriver's qualifying score ranked him 7th in overall pinfall, with a 901 score for the 6-game preliminary round block. In the bracket elimination finals, Winnie toppled Matt Buckingham 128 to 113, then Dave Kowaleski 158 to 135, and Walt Brooks 175 to 98, before tackling Collison. Billy's road was a memorable one as well, in which he qualified for the Sunday finals by gaining a bracket bye in the first round. He then fended off the challenges of Pat Turnbow 135 to 117, and nipping Maya Fogel 122 to 121 in the semifinal. The win was worth upwards of $1,000 for Shriver, with Collison collecting a guaranteed $500 as the runner-up. Announcing new bowling ball release from 900 Global. The Viking, built for battle. The 900 Global Viking drops on November 21st, and it is built to combat patterns going through transition. With the trademarked Strobe AI core and an RB90 hybrid reactive cover, the Viking is the most responsive hybrid asymmetric design in the 900 Global lineup. Cleaner, more retention than the Origin, said Mikey Tang after his first practice with it. Here is what to expect in motion. 1. Longer and sharper down lane compared to the Origin EX. 2. More responsive off the spot, ideal for when oil patterns begin to transition. 3. Battle-ready versatility across medium and medium-heavy conditions. Other news from 900 Global. Team USA heads to Hong Kong. The IBF World Championships kick off November 24 to December 5 in Hong Kong, bringing together 23 men's and 22 women's national teams from around the world. Team USA is sending a powerhouse lineup. For the men, Andrew Anderson, Ryan Barnes, Packy Hanrahan, A.J. Johnson, Chris Prather, Chris Villa. And for the ladies, Julia Bond, Brianna Cote, Brianna Clemmer, Jillian Martin, Shannon Pluhowski, and Lauren Russo. Veteran stars shine in Reno. Last month, 900 Global reported that Chris and Linda Barnes were gearing up for the IBF World Seniors Championships in Reno. They did not just compete, they delivered. Linda Barnes earned gold in women's team, plus silver in all events and doubles with Dana Operley. Chris Barnes captured gold in men's team, bronze in doubles with John Janowitz, and silver in masters. The team is what we came for, Linda said, but the individual medal is like a cherry on top. Well, we are at that part of the show where we have to pack up until the next time. Thank you all for tuning in and caring about our glorious sport of bowling. As usual, if you would like to be notified of future videos when they become available, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of the YouTube video screen. As one of the landmark TV shows of yesteryear used to say, adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you on Thursday.